Hello again and welcome to the workshop. I'm continuing on with the raised flower bed project for my vegetable garden. As mentioned before, I have 2x4 pieces. Sorry, that's a 2x4. I have 2x4 pieces and 2x10 pieces, and I'll be gluing them together, one on top of the other, as in like that. So the 2x4 on the top edge of the 2x10, in order to make a total height for the raised bed of 13 inches. 2x10 is actually 9.5, 2x4 is actually 3.5, so therefore 13 inches. That will be the height of the wood. I could just glue it or screw it together and be done, but because I am who I am, I am going to make it look neater. When you get wood from Home Depot, almost all the wood, not almost, all the construction lumber like this anyways, has a rounded edge. These aren't completely square. I believe this is done from the sawmill for distributors like Home Depot or Lowe's or Rona or whatever, in order to make the wood easier to handle, especially in the store. But when you're trying to build anything, any kind of furniture, any kind of structure with this wood, because it's not fine wood for cabinetry or anything like that, it doesn't look the best when you like glue pieces together. You'll always have this seam in the middle, unless you square off these edges and surfaces, which is what I plan to do with these pieces. So it occurred to me that not everyone knows what I mean when I say I'm going to joint the two pieces of wood together. Jointing is a term from the cabinet industry, like I said, which makes sure that the two surfaces that you're connecting together or joining, I don't know why it's not called joining or whatever, but jointing. Anyways, to make sure the two surfaces that you are going to glue or connect together are tight, there's no like little divot or seam like this, and it's supposed to give a stronger bond. Back in the old-timey days, they used to do this with a hand planer. You can get an electric planer to do the same thing, but I have a jointer. It's a machine that does the same thing, which makes life a little bit easier, and for people like me, who are just a hobbyist, that was never formally trained with a hand plane, this makes it a bit easier. Mine is a Craftex jointer. I got it from Busy Bee Tools here in Canada, and it's only a 6-inch jointer. I believe they come in sizes of 6-inch, 8-inch, 12, and I think you can get up to 24, but at that point that's like industrial size. That's not for a hobbyist. You have some money if you if you're getting something like this, if you're using like if you purchased a 24-inch jointer. There's nothing to say that somehow someone has gained access to an old one or whatever. Anyways, I only have a 6-inch jointer. So when it is turned on, I'm just going to take off the safety. There we go. Good, can't come on. When it's running, this blade spindle turns really, really fast and takes off a thin edge, a thin amount of material going from this surface to that surface. So you'll be pushing the wood this way along here. This makes that the edge that you run over there really smooth and really flat. And that you would do that to two pieces of wood before you glue them or connect them together, and you'd be good to go. Since this isn't fine wood from a lumber yard, like it isn't like, fine mahogany or something like that, I'm using construction grade lumber. So I will be jointing all the surfaces of this wood. Typically, you would only do that on lumber that you would buy from a sawmill that is rough cut or rough sawn. I was trying to find some here in the shop. This is an old shelf that the former owner was using. Piece of wood. I don't know if you can see that, but that's like really rough. It's not anywhere as smooth as the Home Depot stuff. So he probably got this from someone he knew at a sawmill. And since he was only using it as shelving around, he didn't bother sanding it down or anything like that, or resurfacing. So typically that's what the wood looks like. Sometimes even worse, you can actually see the blade marks from the sawmill on the wood. So from the sawmill, you would have to do your own milling. You still can get wood like this from a sawmill, and it will be much cheaper than the wood that you get from Home Depot. The wood that you get from Home Depot is referred to as S4, which means it's been surfaced or smoothed on all four sides of the wood. From the sawmill, since they're not doing that extra step, it's actually, there's less labor involved, so it's a little bit cheaper. And if you have the tools, you can resurface the lumber yourself. So typically the process is you get the wood from the sawmill, you cut it to length that you want on the miter saw, then you joint two edges. Usually it's going to be a flat side and an edge. You run it through here on the flat side, then you run it again on its edge there. Then you take the side that you had surfaced, the flat side down, you put it in the surface planer, that side down, and you run it through here to make the other flat side smooth and what they call coplanar with the bottom. After that's done, that's three sides you've done now. After that's done, that last edge that you didn't run through here, you take to the table saw and you cut off. And that's how you mill wood down to whatever thickness you want. You can run, after that, you can run it through the surface planer again to make it as thick as you want. But that's what you would do to surface, or S4, all four sides of the board. It's a bit of a process. Hopefully I'll be able to capture it in the video to show you what's going on. I will try to demo on one of these pieces here. Probably this piece would be the easiest to do, so you have an idea of what's going on. So don't confuse the surface planer with a sander, because it's not. A sander takes off really minuscule amounts of the surface of a wood. This one, you can go from very small, like a 32nd of an inch, all the way up to almost an inch. I wouldn't advise trying to take an inch at a time going through here, but it's not for smoothing the wood. The wood might feel smooth after you run it through, but it's more for, like I said, making it coplanar with the top and bottom. Yeah, that seems like a lot, but it makes for a final result in the project afterwards. So I'll try to do a time lapse to show you exactly how that works. Okay, now for the big reveal. These are the before and afters. So this was the same piece of wood. These two were together. There was a crack down the center here, so they came apart. But these are the exact same pieces of wood. So as you can see, the before, really rough. Don't know if that's aging or what's on here, but you can see the condition of it. And this is after. So this is after, like I explained before, jointing. So once again, let me clear these stuff out of the way. Clear. Over here. So yeah, so this piece of wood, when it was rough like that, was put up against here and pushed through here, which gave it a smooth surface like that. And then after it was put through on its edge, it was put down on the flat side with this jointed side that I just jointed up against the fence, and it was pushed through once again, which made the bottom side flat. So now that I have two sides flat, I took it over to the planer, and the flat side that I had just jointed goes on the bottom surface of here, went through the planer. Now remember, the planer, the blades are on top, so that took off the top surface and made it, when I was saying coplanar so many times in the other video, I was talking about making the wood even on both sides, on the left to the right. So you see how that's square? So there's no, it's not going down on an angle, like thicker on this side and thinner on that side. There's no cup in the board, and it's not bowed. It's flat from left to right. So we surfaced we jointed the bottom, we jointed the side, we surface planed the top, and then I took it over to the table saw, and the jointed edge and the flat side. Jointed edge went up against the fence, and the flat side was on the bottom, obviously. And then I ripped it through to make this side square with that side. And that's how you end up with an S4 or fully surfaced piece of wood. This is the piece that was cut off the edge. See, it was a ragged end. So we cut it off the edge here. And that's how you get jointed or milled or surfaced piece of lumber. Some sawmills, or I think sawmills, you don't see it too much at Home Depot or places like that. They have what's called S2 boards. So they did part of my job already. They would have jointed one side and jointed they jointed one edge and one surface. So if you buy those, it's a little bit more than rough sawn wood, but not as much as fully surfaced wood. So if you buy those woods, the only thing you would have to do is surface plane the top and cut off the other ragged side. But there you go, milling process. So now to do the same with all of these. It shouldn't be as much work, because this was like really rough and really aged and stuff like that to get it down to here. These will take a light jointing and a light planing, and they should be fine, except for some of the wider woods that may be a little bit bowed, but I'll get to that when I get to that. There you go.